The story opens on a shy, awkward, and not particularly well-off young man named Kim Jae-won. Jae-won is a second-year high school student, quiet, and not the type who enjoys mixing with people. One morning on his way to school, the bus Jae-won is riding suddenly slams on its brakes. As it turns out, Tae-hoon and his friends had strolled across the middle of the road without a care in the world. Because of that sudden stop, Jae-won reflexively tries to steady a girl standing right beside him. But instead of grabbing her hand or her shoulder, he ends up grabbing a fistful of her hair to keep her from falling. Since the whole thing was a complete accident, Jae-won apologizes to her, thoroughly embarrassed.
미안해. 진짜 미안해.
Once he gets to class, Jae-won sees that Tae-hoon and his crew have just been bullying Dong-sik, his desk mate. Because Jae-won's desk got dirtied in the process, Dong-sik quickly wipes it down so it won't bother him. Watching Tae-hoon take it this far, Jae-won walks straight over to him. He tells him coldly that he and his crew have made a mess of his desk. Hearing that, Tae-hoon apologizes and claims it was an accident. Jae-won then tells all of them to stop bothering Dong-sik because his desk mate has never done a single thing to any of them. Of course, a troublemaker like Tae-hoon isn't going to back down that easily. He throws down a challenge instead. He'll stop tormenting Dong-sik on one condition. Jae-won has to confess his feelings to Han Seo-yoon, and Seo-yoon happens to be one of the school's famous beauties, known for turning boys down brutally. Jae-won obviously refuses, because he has no interest in doing something that ridiculous.
너 한소연한테 고백한 거야?
고백을 하러 내가? 쟤한테? 왜?
그냥?
During PE, Jae-won quietly watches Seo-yoon from a distance. And as it turns out, she's the girl whose hair he accidentally grabbed on the bus that morning. Not long after, Tae-hoon sends him a threatening message telling him to make that confession today. Back in class, Dong-sik secretly writes a plea on a scrap of paper and passes it to Jae-won, begging him to help put a stop to Tae-hoon's bullying. Soon enough, Tae-hoon comes over to ask whether Jae-won actually has the nerve to go through with it, because if not, he and his crew will go back to bothering Dong-sik every single day. After thinking it over calmly, Jae-won says he's willing to confess to Seo-yoon, as long as Tae-hoon promises he'll never touch Dong-sik again. Jae-won then gets up from his seat and heads off to find her. Standing in front of her, he skips the small talk entirely and asks her out. Jae-won figures this will blow over easily. After all, Seo-yoon is certain to shoot him down flat, given how many boys she's already turned away. But against all expectation, Seo-yoon smiles and says she's willing to be Jae-won's girlfriend. He's obviously stunned. He never imagined his fake confession would actually be accepted.
저 나랑 사귈래?
좋아. 사귀자.
왜지?
After that, Jae-won's name suddenly becomes famous across the school. Beyond somehow winning over Seo-yoon, who was notorious for rejecting everyone, Jae-won is also seen as a real gentleman by the other students for having the nerve to confess in public. When the final bell rings, Seo-yoon comes to find him in class. She wants to walk home together, but feeling guilty about it, Jae-won tells her honestly that he only confessed to help save his desk mate from being bullied. Hearing that honesty, Seo-yoon actually smiles and praises Jae-won for caring so much about his friend. She says it doesn't bother her at all because she doesn't actually like him either. On top of that, the two of them didn't even know each other before. But then Seo-yoon suggests they keep the relationship going anyway, as a way of finding something new in life. She sets 3 absolute conditions though. First, they can't talk to each other at school. Second, no frequent texting or calling. And last, the two of them are absolutely not allowed to actually fall in love. Jae-won agrees immediately. He wants to try something new too. On the walk home, Seo-yoon keeps asking him about everything he likes. From the important things to the smallest details, she writes all of it down in her little notebook. Jae-won obviously finds it strange. Why would she need to write all of this down? But he can't really object, since this is his first relationship, and he doesn't know the first thing about how any of this works.
게임 독질 이상.
On the bus, Jae-won starts opening up and tells her about the kind of music he loves. And despite looking fairly athletic, he actually can't stand exercise. He hates anything that makes him sweat or requires heavy activity. What he does love, though, is keeping things clean and orderly. As it turns out, Jae-won lives alone with his father. His mother passed away 5 years ago, leaving a very deep wound in both of them, especially in his father. Because his father is busy working at a photo printing studio and has lost his spark, all the housework like cleaning and cooking falls to Jaewon every day after school. That night before bed, Jaewon picks up his phone intending to message Seo-yoon. But beyond it being late, he also remembers clearly that texting and calling are off limits under her rules, so he puts the phone back down. The next morning, Jaewon starts scanning for Seo-yoon from a distance on his way to school. Unfortunately, he never spots her. Once he's in class, the other students start showing him real respect, both for his nerve and for his sheer luck in dating Seo-yoon. But even with his name now known across the whole school, the thing that matters most to Jaewon is the visible relief he feels, because at least Dong-sik can now come to school safely, without fear of Taehoon's crew. At lunch, Jaewon accidentally runs into Seo-yoon in the cafeteria, but he deliberately acts like they don't know each other, since she's forbidden him from talking to her anywhere on school grounds. After lunch, Jaewon is startled when a student named Choi Ji-min suddenly blocks his path in the hallway. As it turns out, she's Seo-yoon's closest friend. Skipping any preamble, Ji-min immediately tells Jaewon to break things off with Seo-yoon. She knows their relationship started as an arrangement and isn't built on any real feelings. Jaewon refuses, of course. They may not have feelings for each other yet, but he wants to experience something different alongside Seo-yoon. Jaewon says there's nothing wrong with the two of them staying together simply to get to know each other. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Dong-sik is cornered by the delinquents again. But this time Taehoon immediately stops his own crew, because he promised Jaewon he wouldn't touch Dong-sik anymore. Being a man of his word, Taehoon clearly intends to keep that promise. His friends, however, seem to feel the opposite. They look disappointed and think Taehoon has gone soft.
그만해. 싫다잖아. 약속했잖아.
When the final bell rings, Seo-yoon comes to get Jaewon for a date. And even though the two of them act like strangers in class, the moment that bell goes off, their chemistry shifts completely, and they look like a real couple. From the claw machine to taking selfies together, to eating spicy ramyeon that leaves Jaewon red-faced and nearly in tears. That night in her room, Seo-yoon opens her little notebook again and writes down everything she did with Jaewon that afternoon. For some reason, she always keeps this ritual of journaling every single night. The next day, Ji-min starts keeping a close eye on how things are developing between Seo-yoon and Jaewon, but she looks happy watching Seo-yoon smiling to herself while looking at their selfie on her phone. As a good friend, Ji-min is obviously glad when Seo-yoon is happy, and as it happens, Jaewon is also quietly watching that same sweet smile from outside the classroom window. Every time the bell rings, it means date time has begun. That day they go to a karaoke place, where this quiet, good-looking guy suddenly sings a song with a genuinely great voice just to make Seo-yoon happy. And as always, before closing out the night, Seo-yoon writes down everything she did with her boyfriend. One day, while Jaewon is taking out the trash, he accidentally sees Taehoon getting jumped and beaten by his own crew. At first, Jaewon stays out of it and decides not to get involved, but after watching Taehoon get swarmed and beaten badly, Jaewon can't stomach it and steps in to break it up. As the situation escalates, Seo-yoon luckily shows up recording the whole thing on her phone and threatens to report it to a teacher. Not wanting things to get any worse, the whole crew panics and scatters. Once it's safe, Jaewon takes Taehoon to the nurse's office to treat his injuries. But instead of showing any pain, Taehoon just sits there smiling bashfully, staring at Ji-min, who happens to be there. As it turns out, the school's resident tough guy has had a crush on her for a long time.
봐봐. 아 빨리 봐봐. 뭐?
뭐 볼 수 있을까?
That night at home, Jaewon and his father mark the anniversary of his mother's death. After the memorial prayer, he opens up to his father heart to heart. He looks back on the past, telling him how he'd once lost all direction and had no will to keep going after his mother died. But he stresses that these days, he's slowly starting to rise again and find little pieces of happiness. What Jaewon really wants is for his father to find his passion for life again, instead of sitting there every night lost and longing for the wife who's gone for good. Jaewon wants to see his father get back up, return to work as a photographer, and live a life that's free and full again. The next day at school, a battered Taehoon suddenly comes over and asks Jaewon to be friends. As it turns out, Taehoon feels he owes him for what happened and thinks Jaewon is an interesting guy who'd make a solid friend. After hearing about the 3 conditions of Jae-won's relationship with Seo-yoon, Tae-hoon immediately realizes she's Jae-won's very first girlfriend. Appointing himself an instant love expert, Tae-hoon explains, if Seo-yoon deliberately set rules like that at the very start, then Jae-won needs to have the nerve to break them. Because girls, he says, can't stand a guy who's too obedient. During study hall, Seo-yoon spends the whole time sketching Jae-won's face in her notebook. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Jae-won's heart is pounding as he works up the nerve to break the rules, exactly as Tae-hoon suggested. After school, he finally works up the courage to ask Seo-yoon out on a proper date that weekend. And who would have guessed? She isn't upset at all. She happily accepts.
주말에 나랑 데이트할래?
Long story short, the weekend arrives. Seo-yoon is dressed up as beautifully as she can for their date. After strolling along the coast together, Jae-won invites her to sit down and gives her a packed meal he made himself, specially for her. During that picnic, he also tells her a lot about his mother's death 5 years ago. For some reason, Jae-won feels completely safe and at ease talking to Seo-yoon, even though he isn't the type who opens up or makes friends easily. Seeing Jae-won start to lower the walls around his heart, Seo-yoon smiles and says she finds it strange herself. Why does she feel like Jae-won is someone she's known for a very long time, when in reality, the two of them only met a week or 2 ago? After spending a beautiful day together, Seo-yoon gets so comfortable that she falls asleep on Jae-won's shoulder. But not long after she wakes up, something unexpected and deeply confusing happens. In that moment, Seo-yoon suddenly pulls away and starts acting very strangely. She looks at him with fear in her eyes, as though she has no idea who Jae-won even is. He's clearly bewildered, unable to understand why she suddenly doesn't recognize him, when the two of them have just spent an entire day together. After fleeing in fear and leaving Jae-won behind, Seo-yoon quickly calls Ji-min and explains in a panic. She says she's lost somewhere with a strange man after falling asleep on the bus. The guy is very good looking, but she genuinely has no idea who he is. Ji-min patiently tells her friend to calm down and open the notes on her phone or in her bag. She explains that the man with her isn't a stranger at all. He's Kim Jae-won, Seo-yoon's own boyfriend. After reading her notes from that day, Seo-yoon breaks down completely. How could she possibly have forgotten the most precious person in her life, the one who's her boyfriend right now? With her memory of Jae-won refreshed through her notebook, Seo-yoon runs back to find him. And it's in that moment that she honestly admits her biggest secret. She suffers from anterograde amnesia, the loss of the ability to form new long-term memories, after a severe car accident in her past. Every time she falls asleep and closes her eyes at night, every memory and every moment she lived through that day disappears completely from her mind. That's exactly why Seo-yoon is so diligent about journaling every night, so that the next morning she won't forget the important things that happened the day before. After hearing that heartbreaking truth, Jae-won is stunned and genuinely never imagined that behind her smile, she was carrying a weight this heavy. But instead of pulling away, Jae-won asks her never to write down anything about today's episode. He wants Seo-yoon to stay his girlfriend exactly as he's come to know her, and asks her to act as though he knows nothing about her condition. Once he's home, Jae-won opens his laptop and starts researching what anterograde amnesia actually is and how the condition might be treated. As a devoted boyfriend, he obviously wants to do everything he can to help Seo-yoon get her memory back to normal. The next day at school, Seo-yoon acts as cheerful as ever, as if the incident never happened at all. Jae-won is clearly happy, because it seems she truly honored his request not to write anything down about that night. So their relationship carries on smoothly, without a trace of awkwardness. Seo-yoon, though, seems annoyed and puzzled, because Jae-won keeps smiling to himself while looking at her without ever explaining why. That afternoon, Ji-min comes to find Jae-won and tells him the full story behind Seo-yoon's condition. Seo-yoon used to live a completely normal life, until a few years ago, when her friend was in a tragic accident that damaged her brain function, causing all of her new short-term memories to be automatically erased every time she falls into a deep sleep. Ji-min honestly admits that at first, she desperately wanted to separate Jae-won and Seo-yoon, because she was afraid the secret of this condition would come out and hurt her friend. But as time went on, Ji-min started to believe that Jae-won is a good man, one who might be able to protect and accept her friend's limitations. Even though Seo-yoon forgets easily, Ji-min pleads with him through tears never to play with Seo-yoon's feelings, and above all, never to break her heart. Jae-won just smiles and tells her not to worry, because he promises he'll make Seo-yoon happy every single day, even if she ends up forgetting all of it the following morning. Jae-won even tells her that he asked Seo-yoon not to write anything down about the night she ran off the bus. He did that purely so she wouldn't feel guilty, change how she acts around him, or start avoiding him because of the weight of her condition.
난 그냥 서윤이의 내일도 즐겁게 해주고 싶어. 서윤이의 일기장을 행복한 추억으로 채워주고 싶어.
그래도 너라면 이제 좀 믿을 수 있을 것 같아.
That night in the living room, Jae-won tells his father that he's officially dating a beautiful girl from school. Hearing that his only son has a girlfriend, his father is obviously overjoyed, because it means Jae-won is growing up and finally letting himself open his heart. He's so happy about it that he immediately hands Jae-won some extra spending money so he can treat his girlfriend to a proper meal, or at the very least buy her ice cream at the convenience store near school. After school every day, Seo-yoon and Jae-won always head off to explore somewhere new, as usual. But that day, Taehoon suddenly invites himself along, because he's looking for an opening to get closer to Jimin. For that double date, the four of them plan to go to the aquarium to see the penguins. Unfortunately, when they arrive, the penguin viewing hours are closed because the animals are resting, so they miss out entirely. Not wanting to see Seo-yoon disappointed, Jae-won quickly changes course and takes her to go play in the water down at the beach instead. After a long and genuinely fun day together, Jae-won takes Seo-yoon's hand and tells her he'll always do everything he can to keep her smiling every single day. Hearing something that sweet, Seo-yoon immediately smiles, flustered, and tells him he has a real gift for laying it on thick.
내일에 너도 내가 즐겁게 해줄게.
뭐야? 느끼해. 진짜 느끼해.
나 집에 갈래.
Back in her room that night, Seo-yoon is once again busy writing down every beautiful, happy moment from that day in her journal, so that when she wakes up tomorrow she won't lose those sweet memories. The next day after school, Seo-yoon and Jimin are shocked and then absolutely doubled over laughing when Jae-won and Taehoon suddenly jump out wearing giant penguin costumes. As it turns out, these two absolute idiots deliberately rented those costumes to cheer up Seo-yoon, who'd missed seeing the penguins the day before. And that sincere effort and extra mile from Jae-won gets exactly the response it deserved. Seo-yoon's heart genuinely melts, and she's overwhelmingly happy with her boyfriend's surprise. Once they've laughed themselves out, Jae-won invites Seo-yoon and the others to stop by his father's photo studio. His warm, friendly father immediately welcomes his son's friends. But the moment they walk in, Jimin's heart nearly stops with excitement. As it turns out, Jae-won's father is a professional photographer she's idolized for years, one who announced a hiatus from public work a long time ago. His father obviously smiles with pride, genuinely happy that one of his son's friends admires his work. But his father then explains, downplaying it, that for now he can't be active shooting or posting on social media because he's tied up with other things. To Jae-won, all of that is nothing but an excuse, because the fact is, his father is still trapped in grief, has lost his will to live fully, and deliberately chose to stop being a photographer after his wife died.
지민이가 진짜 좋아하는 작가님인데 재원이 아버님이신 줄은 몰랐네. 진짜 신기하다.
우리 아빠?
사진 좋아하는구나.
네.
One night, Jae-won comes home fairly late after spending the day with Seo-yoon. His father, who was waiting up, offers him some advice. He says his girlfriend really is a sweet and beautiful girl. But being caught up in love doesn't mean Jae-won can keep going out with her until he loses all track of time. His father reminds him not to let a pretty girlfriend make him careless about his responsibilities and his studies. Jae-won gently pushes back and tells his father not to worry. He assures him he always makes time for what he needs to do, and promises he'll keep studying diligently every night before bed. In that intimate father and son moment, Jae-won slowly works up the nerve to ask his father to start moving forward, to finally sort through his late mother's belongings, and to pick up a camera again and return to being the great photographer he once was. Before bed that night, Jae-won looks at the framed photographs of his late mother in his room with a mix of grief and longing. Deep down he wonders, if his mother were still alive today, maybe she too would have praised Seo-yoon for being so beautiful and so kind. In the deepest part of his heart, Jae-won desperately wants to introduce Seo-yoon to his mother and tell her all about the funny, wonderful things his girlfriend does. But he knows full well that this is a wish that can never come true. Meanwhile, elsewhere, alone in her room, Seo-yoon is fighting desperately to stay awake so she won't fall asleep. That night, she's trying every method she can think of to make her memory record normally again. Because deep down, Seo-yoon is heartbroken at the thought of waking up tomorrow and forgetting every single detail of the beautiful moments she shares with Jae-won each day. That desperate act of hers is quietly noticed by her mother, who checks in on her room that night. Worried, her mother reports what her daughter has been doing to Jimin. So the next day, Jimin immediately goes to Jae-won and tells him that painful secret, that every night, Seo-yoon forces herself to stay awake until she's suffering, all in a fight to recover her broken memory. Jae-won is obviously stunned to hear it, given how hard he's been working to create memories that would keep her happy every day so she'd never have to feel sad about her condition. But with a heavy voice, Jimin explains that this is exactly the problem. Seo-yoon is suffering precisely because Jae-won makes her days feel too happy. She can't bear it, and can't accept having to wake up the next morning and forget every beautiful memory he's given her.
서윤이가 요즘 잠에 드는 걸 두려워하는 것 같다고. 즐겁고 소중할수록 그걸 잊어야 하는 아픔은 더 클 테니까.
After thinking over Jimin's words, the next day Jae-won buys Seo-yoon a small figurine as a physical keepsake. But who would have guessed? At the exact same time, she'd secretly bought him a matching keychain of the very same thing. Sitting together looking at their identical gifts, Seo-yoon tells him something with real melancholy in her voice. She says that before the accident took her memory, she was fairly talented and very involved in drawing and art, but now she feels like she's lost that skill and forgotten all of it. That confession, so full of quiet despair, obviously leaves Jae-won heartbroken too. That night, Seo-yoon refuses to give up. She tries everything she can think of to heal her amnesia, from forcing herself to stay awake, to doing visual therapy by sketching Jae-won's face over and over in her drawing book. Seeing his girlfriend's determination, and wanting to support her so her brain might start forming memories normally again, Jae-won never stops taking her out to new places after school. He's determined to create thousands of memorable happy moments, as many as he possibly can, so that all those positive emotions might help her brain begin to recover. And thanks to the relentless, day-after-day effort from both Seo-yoon and Jae-won, a small miracle slowly begins to appear. At her next checkup, the doctor treating her says with genuine amazement that the tissue in Seo-yoon's brain is slowly showing significant signs of improvement. The doctor doesn't dare predict exactly when, but medically speaking, sooner or later there's a strong chance Seo-yoon's memory could recover. Her mother obviously breaks down in tears, overwhelmed at seeing the fruit of her daughter's stubborn refusal to surrender to her fate.
지금 당장 의학적으로 설명할 수는 없지만 그래도 증상이 완화되고 있다는 건 분명 좋은 신호예요.
One day, as summer approaches, Jimin invites her friends to gather and watch the annual fireworks festival. Seo-yoon immediately writes that big plan down in her journal so she won't forget. She's incredibly excited, even picking out her best outfit for a romantic date with Jae-won that night under the fireworks. Before the main event begins, the four of them wander the festival buying snacks first. And then Jimin, reading the room perfectly, deliberately pulls Taehoon away on the excuse of getting ice cream, so that Seo-yoon and Jae-won can have some space alone under the night sky. When the first fireworks finally break across the darkness, Seo-yoon watches the light bloom and quietly lets her tears fall, happy ones. She truly never imagined that in a life as broken as hers, there would be an extraordinary person willing to stay beside her, so sincerely and so patiently, every single day. Seo-yoon then turns to him, looks deep into his eyes, and honestly says that it seems she's failed and broken the third rule of their relationship. Because at this point, she's fallen completely and hopelessly in love with him. Hearing that honest confession, Jae-won just smiles warmly, wipes away her tears, and gently answers that he actually broke that rule a very long time ago. And the film ends on that sweet, deeply moving moment,